Hi everyone, this is Andy Bauer from Portland Clean Energy. This video is for my Connecticut Energy Network colleagues and is an updated presentation on the attempts to educate folks about the public benefits charges. I'm going to review components of those charges. We will recap what contributed to the price spike in the summer of 2024 and finish with how many of the public benefits programs actually lower bills for all ratepayers. I've since synthesized a lot of data from a bunch of different sources. Some inaccuracies may have crept in. Apologies for that. Let's get started. The public benefits are divided into two parts. The first is the federally mandated congestion charge, which funds grid relief initiatives, also the Millstone deal. The second is the combined public benefits, which has three sections. The system benefits include hardship help, low-income discount rates, and fuel assistance. Conservation and load management charge includes energy efficiency, preventing brownouts and blackouts, and EV charging incentives. The Renewable Energy Investment Charge funds the Connecticut Green Bank and its Smart E-Loan and municipal assistance programs. The public benefits represent the policy decisions by the Connecticut General Assembly and the Governor. These decisions are then shaped by a combination of the Public Utility Regulatory Authority, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, the utilities, the Office of Consumer Counsel, and others. Public input is encouraged throughout. Many things define a state's character, and how we deal with energy hardships is one of them. If you can prove you're struggling financially and are having difficulty paying utility bills, whether it be electric, natural gas, or oil, then you're in hardship. Neighbors have detailed these situations to me, and hardship is the right word to describe them. So a note of thanks to anyone who has helped put in place Connecticut's numerous hardship protections, which keep the lights on and the heat running. There are over 400,000 homes in Connecticut on hardship. There's a good chance they're your neighbors. The people who live in these homes are much more likely to be under 6 years old or over 60 or on disability. Hardship's primary goal is to keep people safe. There are financial hardships, medical hardships, and a winter moratorium that prevents electricity shutoffs between November 1st and May 1st. If we can get neighbors back on their feet, then repayment mechanisms kick in, just like a mortgage or college loan, and becomes a credit on our bills. Emergency fuel deliveries keep the cold at bay. The low-income discount rate enables people to pay what they can. This is especially helpful to seniors. Incomes are tracked by the Connecticut's Department of Social Services, and only the first 800 kilowatts per month is discounted at the lower rate, which is monitored by the utilities. The matching payment program helps people dig out of debt. Generation Power CT, formerly Operation Fuel, has expanded their mission. Now it assists neighbors with what they can do to not be in the same position next year, likely directing them to conservation programs that make your home weathertight and use less energy. Hold that thought for later. System benefits are funded by a combination of ratepayer money, federal funds, and the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. I often ask myself what some homes would have to do without an emergency fuel delivery, for example, during the cold snap we had this January into February. The next few slides offer some context for the price spikes in the summer of 2024. Going back to 2017, Connecticut passed HB 1501, aka the Millstone deal. Dominion, Millstone's owner, said they were struggling financially. This was contested, but the legislation passed, enabling extra payments to Millstone corporate owners when natural gas prices are low, or credits to ratepayers when those rates are high. This mechanism is through the federally mandated congestion charge of the public benefits. Now, in 2020, COVID hit. Businesses closed, a large number of people weren't working and couldn't pay their bills. The utilities were directed to extend hardship protection year-round to anyone so affected. The number of unpaid utility bills rose. Compensation was discussed, and it was determined that all the costs for those hardships would be repaid by all ratepayers to the utilities starting in July of 24. The decreased economic activity from COVID led to decreased use of natural gas. That fell in price, which triggered the Millstone Hardship Clause. As chance would have it, that bill would land on ratepayers in July of 24. But the biggest driver of that price spike in the summer of 24 was the high heat and record-setting humidity. Here's a representation of electric bills that summer. The red line shows an average use of 700 kilowatts, costing about $200 for rates at the time. Keep your eye on that line. Hardships raised it some, but have repayment mechanisms. The Millstone deal raised it some more. The heat and humidity led to high AC use, in some cases doubling people's bills. Clearly, it's no longer a question of if climate change is involved, but how much. It might be helpful to understand how electricity is priced throughout the day. This is a screenshot of an ISO New England graph for electricity demand hour by hour on the hottest day last year, June 24th. ISO stands for Independent System Operator of New England. They're like the traffic cop for electricity, directing various power plants to increase or decrease generation based on regional need. They bring the cheapest power online first. Here it is zoomed in. The top, the black circle, that's called peak demand. Historically, meeting the peak required older, dirtier fossil fuel plants. In extreme cases, we'd fire up emergency diesel generators to help. Really dirty, emitting tons of greenhouse gases. Expensive too. The top 1% of the peak accounts for 8% of supply and transmission costs. We spend an arm and a leg to meet the peak because blackouts will cost us, well, both arms and legs. The good news is that doesn't happen much these days, and here's why. I reformatted that ISO chart to show how we can change the peak and its costs. The bars show usage hour by hour, starting at 1 a.m. and progressing throughout the day. The higher the bar, the higher the demand, measured in the left side in thousands of megawatts. As noted, the peak is expensive, exponentially so, because here it's about 25 times the price of off-peak. Enter energy efficiency. The green areas represent the cumulative effect of those measures, dropping the peak, slashing prices, reducing pollution. Data from last year shows a 250% return on energy efficiency investment. Sure, the homes and businesses that went that route benefited directly, but every ratepayer's bill is reduced when the expensive peak falls. That's your conservation and load management charge at work. Recall that earlier I had mentioned the conservation programs and the system benefits. They also contribute in the same way. Here's the efficiency contribution, but we're not done reducing the peak. The good news is that there are tens of thousands of homes and businesses with solar. This is that collective peak reducing contribution. Check out the 9 a.m. off-peak price. Remember, electricity is bought and sold by the megawatt, so divide by 1,000 if you want to compare it to your own electric bill. At the new peak, at 8 p.m., the price is still through the roof, but much better than it might have been, and we can quantify this. The Acadia Center estimates that this rooftop solar, also known as behind-the-meter solar, delivered a minimum of $8.2 million in collective savings to New England ratepayers on that one day alone. I invite you to imagine what the increased use of solar paired with batteries looks like. That's your renewable energy investment charge at work. As far as electric vehicles are concerned, no question, EVs draw a lot of energy and we do not want them charging during peak demand. The beauty of EV managed charging is its simplicity. This doesn't need another power plant or transmission line. By incentivizing EV charging to go from peak to off-peak, everyone wins. This is another cost-effective conservation and load management program. I invite you to view EVs as the mobile power plants that they are and the positive effect they could have on reducing emissions and powering the grid. Altogether, energy efficiency, solar, and managed charging have lowered the peak. That's your improved air quality, reduced greenhouse gases, and a lot of money saved. Thanks for watching and take care.